Hi, I'm Isabella Curso, and I will be going over how vision affects the release of melatonin from the pineal gland. But before we talk about how vision interacts with the pineal gland, I will go over the anatomical components of both. But first, I wanted to know what vision is. Vision is the body's ability to see visible light, and that is between about 400 and 700 nanometers. So, the anatomical components of the eye include the cornea, which is the curved, transparent coating that covers the iris and helps focus light onto the retina, the pupil, which regulates the amount of light entering the eyeball, the iris, which is the colored portion of the eyeball consisting of melanocytes, the lens, which is the curved structure in the eye that bends light and focuses it for the retina to help you see images clearly, the ciliary body, which connects the iris to the choroid, and it consists of the ciliary muscle, which alters the curvature of the lens, and the ciliary process, from which the lens is suspended by ligaments. We also have the ora serrata, which is the serrated junction between the retina and the ciliary body, and it marks the transition from the simple non-photosensitive area of the retina to the complex, multi-layered photosensitive region. There's also the zonular fibers, which is an arrangement of fibers that originate at the ciliary body and terminate on the lens. We also have the aqueous humor, which is a transparent, watery fluid that nourishes the lens and the cornea, and it is continuously filtering out of the blood capillaries and then flows between the iris and the lens through the pupil and into the anterior chamber. It drains into the sclerovenous sinus and then into the blood, and it is replaced about every 90 minutes. There is also the vitreous body, which is a transparent, jelly-like substance that holds the retina flush against the choroid, giving the retina an even surface for the reception of clear images, and it does not undergo constant replacement. It consists of water, collagen fibers, and hyaluronic acid, and it contains phagocytosis cells that remove debris. Next is intraocular pressure, which is pressure in the eye produced mainly by aqueous humor and in part by the vitreous body. And it is a measurement involving the magnitude of the force exerted by the aqueous humor on the internal surface of the anterior surface area of the anterior eye. We also have the sclera, which is the whites of the eyes, and it is comprised of dense connective tissue. There's also the choroid, which is a highly vascularized structure that contains melanocytes that produce melanin, which absorb stray light rays and prevent reflection and scattering of light. There's also the retina, which is a layer of photoreceptor cells and glial cells that captures incoming photons and converts them into electrical impulses for the brain to interpret. Next, we'll go over features of the retina. First is the optic disc, which is the area of the retina where the optic nerves leaves the back of the eye, and it produces a blind spot. There's also the macula, which is an oval-shaped pigment area in the center of the retina of the human eye, and it contains only cones, which is a type of photoreceptor that permits color vision. It is the area of highest visual acuity, which allows you to clearly see objects directly in front of you, and the fovea, which is the center of the macula. Layers of the retina include the photoreceptor layer, bipolar cell layer, and the ganglion cell layer. Next is the anatomical components of the pineal gland, and it is a small endocrine gland that releases melatonin. It is located in the center of the brain, above the brainstem and behind the third ventricle, and it receives input from the SCN from the hypothalamus, which receives input from the retina about the status of light/dark in the environment. The functions of the pineal gland. The pineal gland secretes the hormone melatonin, which regulates sleep cycle/circadian rhythm. It represses gonadotropin releasing hormones from the hypothalamus, which contributes to sexual development. And I just wanted to note that melatonin production declines progressively with age. How vision and the endocrine system interact. They interact through physiological signals and hormones. It has the regulation of the body's internal clock, also known as the circadian rhythm. Hormonal changes can also affect vision and eye health and possibly lead to vision loss. So some examples are if there's corneal changes, retinal health changes, and dry eyes, those can be caused by fluctuations of sex hormones. Thyroid eye disease and retinal development issues can be caused by thyroid hormone imbalances. Diabetic retinopathy, cataracts and glaucoma, and temporary vision loss can be effects of irregular insulin and glucose. And optic nerve compression can be caused by pituitary gland disorders such as a tumor. How vision interacts with the pineal gland. So, first, light enters the eye through the cornea, then it passes through the pupil. The lens focuses on the light. Light passes through the vitreous humor, light reaches the retina, and then that light is converted to electrical signals. Those signals are then sent to the brain via the retinohypothalamic tract. And then the pineal gland receives those signals and uses that information to regulate melatonin production. The link between the special senses and the endocrine system. The special senses interact with the endocrine system mainly by giving out sensory input, but they also process sensory information and secrete hormones to regulate bodily functions. And those special senses include olfaction, vision, gustation, equilibrium, and hearing. So, how a light and dark environment affects the production of melatonin. If there is a light environment, that light environment is received indirectly through the eyes. The light hits the retina, the nerve signals are sent to the SCN, and then the pineal gland receives those nerve signals and regulates melatonin production, and your body begins waking up. But if there's a dark environment, that dark environment is received indirectly through the eyes, which results in a lack of light hitting the retina. There is then a prevention of signals sent to the SCN and the pineal gland, a release of melatonin, which causes a promotion of sleep. My real-life disorder involving vision and an endocrine pathway that I chose is non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder, and it is a condition where the body's internal clock, or circadian rhythm, is desynchronized. The circadian rhythm is shorter or longer than 24 hours, and it cannot be fixed or aided by things like caffeine. So, what causes non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder? It is caused by internal factors as opposed to like jet lag, which would be an external factor, right? So, it is most commonly caused by lack of light perception caused by total blindness. So, since their eyes are unable to perceive light, no signals are being sent to the SCN, therefore, no signals are sent to the pineal gland, resulting in no production of melatonin. Some side effects and treatments for non 24-hour sleep wake disorder. Some side effects include fluctuations in appetite, mood, and alertness, sleeping at random times throughout the day, severe insomnia, difficulty keeping work, school, or social commitments, and it can even result in depression, which is actually very common due to the stress and or not getting enough sunlight. Some treatments include taking melatonin supplements, bright light therapy in the morning, and in some cases the body will just adapt over time, but that isn't very common. And in other cases, the disorder is chronic. My reflection and analysis. Understanding how light is received by the eyes and light's direct relationship with sleep is important because it can be helpful in regulating a person's sleep. It is essential to understand the connection between light and the pineal gland because it is important for managing sleep-wake cycles. In medicine, this information is important because it can be used to find more ways to treat those who are suffering from non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder. And then I also have a connection to self. So, as someone who takes sleep very seriously and tracks my sleep nightly, I find all of this information to be very insightful. I have been guilty of exposing myself to too much light in the evening before bed, especially blue light, due to scrolling on my phone. So, since beginning this project, I have learned about the effects of light on the production of melatonin. So, by receiving light right before bed, it suppresses that melatonin production, therefore interfering with my sleep. So now that I am more aware of blue light's negative effect on sleep, I turn my phone off 30 minutes before I go to sleep. Since doing this, not only do I feel more refreshed in the morning, But my sleep data that has been recorded by my Apple Watch has improved as well. So that's pretty cool. And then I have my works cited, and that's all. Thank you so much.